Hey everybody, my name is Dean Chessman, and today I'm going to be showing you how I made this effect using TouchDesigner. A few things before we get started. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel to see future tutorials. At this moment, I'm just about to hit 10,000 subscribers, and I'd be stoked to hit that number here in the next little bit. The project files for this tutorial and all my other tutorials are available to my supporters on Patreon to use however they want. And the last thing, I'm a freelance TouchDesigner developer, so if you have a project that you'd like some help with, don't hesitate to contact me. The links for my Patreon and my contact info are down below in the description. Okay, with that, let's get started. So for this project, recently I've been doing a lot of visuals for performances and bands and things like that. And there's this effect that I've been seeing a lot that I thought would be cool to go through. I've been kind of throwing around a lot of ideas in my head of projects to do for tutorials and lots of advanced things, but I think this one's a pretty basic one that I'm going to show. I think it'll teach you a lot of basic concepts, some cool concepts, hopefully, that you can use in your own work. Great for live visuals, music videos, even just like taking your iPhone videos and doing a cool filter for it for Instagram. Anyway, I'm going to start here with this video output. I'm using the same video in the bottom left, but for you, you can just use your video device in if that's what you're doing, if you want to record with the camera. Otherwise, you can use your movie file in top and select whatever movie file you'd like. And I'm going to drag that out and put it into a null just so I can have a starting point that I can switch stuff in and out with. I'm going to call this vid, just something I normally do. And then the first initial effect I'm going to add to this is an edge. And this is just to give me a lot of good, contrast, black and white, even pumping up the strength. I'm not going to be too upset if I need to add some more detail. Even like the kind of crazy, like wrinkly stuff, I actually kind of like that in this effect. So we're going to keep that. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put this into a feedback loop. So that way we can add some constant motion to this in some sort of way. So go into a feedback top, and then I'm going to put that into a transform. And then I'm also going to blur this. I'm going to go through each of these here in a second, and then change the parameters in each of these in a second. And then to mix it together, I'm going to use a crossfade. And so let's bring in our original edge as the crossfade that I'm going to be fading between. And then to complete the feedback loop, I'm going to drag the crossfade to the feedback, and then that will, in the feedback top, add it in as this target top. And just to explain, for those who might not have a lot of experience with the feedback top, the way the feedback top works is the first frame of the feedback comes in from this input, and then it goes through this, whatever set of operators you have, to whatever your target top is. And then the target top is then brought in for the next frame for the feedback. So there's just a continual loop that's happening after the first frame. And every time a reset gets hit, it will start again from this first frame. So let's make this actually do something right now. It's not really doing much. So let's just scale it up. I'm just going to go up, tiny amount. Let's bring it up a little more. You can kind of see what's going on. Get a little bit of motion there. And then I'm also going to do a little bit less blurring, actually, because I don't want to lose some of these little particle-y things kind of flying off of me. Cool. Let's bring this down, actually, just to 1.02. Okay, it's good right now. And then for this crossover, I can go fully just from the edge. So this is with zero feedback, and I can go fully from the feedback, and that doesn't bring anything in from the edge. So I want to weigh a little bit more towards getting the actual feedback effect, so I can get that sort of wavy motion when I'm moving around. Cool. And then I want to take this effect and add the edge back on top of all of this, just to keep some of that detail. I'm going to use an add as well, just to get it as bright and as contrasty as possible where things are happening. Cool. Okay, what next? So I've got my little edge outline here. The next thing I'm going to do is colorize this, I think. So let's use a lookup. And in the second input of the lookup, I want to bring in a ramp. And for this ramp, I'm going to kind of set it up to be sort of like a bit of like a heat map type idea. So I'm going to do like a red, and then maybe a blue, and maybe I'll throw an extra color in here, like an orangey something in the middle. Actually, instead of having the full red though on the top, I'm gonna make. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna leave that one red, and I'm gonna make this top one white. That way, I kind of get these hot spots there. Cool. And then let's see. As any good touch designer developer does, you put a little bloom on it. Bloom is just one of those things that, I don't know, something about it just makes things look and feel good. And actually, maybe what I'm going to do, I might use this bloom as like an effect. So, if we're using this, say, for like a concert visual, the band's up there playing, I want to like kind of pump this to the beat a little bit. And I might do that here and on the feedback, actually. So let's set that up. So I'm going to do it right now just with my keyboard. So maybe you're like the guy controlling the visuals at a concert, and maybe you just have a keyboard. And so I bring in my KeyboardIn, and if I'm right now, it's set to key one, just one. So if I hit one, it'll pulse that. I'm going to bring this into a lag, and you'll see here what a lag does. So a lag kind of lags behind. And if I press and hold, it'll go all the way to 1. If I let go, it'll go back down to 0. And the parameters in the lag, you'll notice there's this kind of, lag 1, lag 2. It's not very descriptive, but what these mean is that this says how long the lag will take to get going upwards, and this is how long the lag will take to drop back down. So, how long it'll take to get to 1 is 0.02 or 0.2 seconds. This is not exactly right. I feel like it's not getting to 1 that quickly. So it's a little bit of a feel thing, but I want this to like pop up and then slowly come down. That's kind of the auto-reactive sort of way to do things. Or maybe if I'm feeling, a little bit like I like to see it come up a little bit for a small amount of time, I'll make this a smaller number. And then I'm actually going to rename this at this point to pulse, because maybe later I want to trigger this via something audio reactive, or maybe a MIDI controller or something like that. I'm going to change the name here so that way when I create my link, it won't get messed up if I bring another input in to trigger this lag. I'm going to create a null, call it pulse, just so it's easy for me to read and know what it is when I come back to this project later. I'm going to activate this and drag it over to my feedback to the pulse of the feedback reset. You'll see what that does here. So now when I hit 1, I get this nice this pulsing effect. What though? It doesn't like that lag. So I'm going to go, let's rename this ahead of time here, actually. Set that as our reset pulse. There we go. Now, no matter what, that's going to do that correctly. So this pulse is going to be an actual pulse. This is going to be our lagged pulse. So let's rename to lag pulse. Hopefully you see that difference there. And then this is what I'm going to use to control my bloom. So let's look at that. Cool. All right, what else can we do to make this more interesting? I want like for when the band's on stage, or during my music video, I want things, even if I'm like standing still, I want it to feel interesting. I want enough randomness in there that it kind of feels like it'll match to whatever music it is with it. So let's animate this ramp, actually. Let me show you what that looks like first, and then we'll automate it. So if I go in here and I change the phase of this ramp, you'll see it'll kind of move through the colors where it's looking up. To explain too, what the lookup is doing is it's taking from this first input, anything from black to white, it's going to use a middle line here based on like what these UV values are, right? Like 0 in the X or 0 in the X to 1 in the X, and then 0.5 and 0.5 in the Y. So that's halfway up the Y, 0.5 or 0 to 1. It's looking up this perfect in the middle line. So even if I made the resolution of this 2 pixels high. It's still taking just from the middle of that row. This is only rendering once, so it's not really a waste to leave this in a bigger resolution right now. So anyway, so it's looking up across that line. So as I'm moving the phase of this, it'll kind of pulse, or it'll animate through those colors for the different parts of that lookup. So let's automate this. I'm going to add a speed chop, and I'm going to name this to what was that, phase? Yeah. So let's do phase speed, and then I'm going to activate, click and drag it on here, and then reference that, and then I'm going to change the speed. So I can actually, I want to go to negative, because I think if I go negative, it'll kind of have an inside out sort of look. The other thing I want to change is when it's crossing this sort of line here, I don't love that it's like a bit of a harsh change. So I'm going to, in the ramp, I'm going to say when it extends past kind of the ramp, I want it to mirror itself. So that way you'll see it kind of smoothly goes up and down. Also with that, I'm noticing I want this, instead of linear, I want to go ease in, ease out. So it's a little bit of a smoother transition. So it'll kind of feel like it's always smoothly changing. So hopefully you see that difference there. Okay, some other things I think I want to change with this. I kind of want to keep that contrasty sort of look no matter what in this. A way I'm going to do that is I want to always have sort of a dark section where the black is coming in from the lookup. So I'm going to add another ramp. So normally the default ramp looks like this, right? Just black to white. If I add a ramp in line, then it's going to take that black to white ramp that I've got, and you'll see in the second output tab here, it's going to multiply by the incoming values, right? So multiplying by black goes to 0, multiplying by white is 1, so it keeps the exact same thing in it. So it's doing the fall off across this right now, and you'll see. Let's go ahead, actually, before I go any further, let's make an out here. I'm going to right click and view so we can kind of always see what we're changing. Drag that up here. That way I don't have to keep coming back to show what's changing. Okay, so this ramp, I'm going to go in, and I only care about keeping the darkest parts dark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new handle in here, drag that to completely white. So everything between these two is all completely white. I'm going to drag that down, so it's just this bottom section that's getting dark, and you'll see. It gives me a little more contrast. It's like getting me some of these cool, like wrinkly details that are kind of weird and crazy. And it's keeping it dark where kind of the edge image is dark, so it doesn't ever fully like get bright color. And this is especially good if you're like on an LED wall or something like that. You don't want to blast out just a full, bright white color on an LED wall, unless you do. And in that case, you can always change this as you want. Cool. So yeah, like I'm liking this already. I like all the weird kind of wrinkly things. Teeth look really crazy. And I'm getting that sort of like the threshold, or sorry, the transform effect off of my feedback. Gives me something cool looking when I'm moving around. I have my keyboard digit, hitting 1 will boost my bloom. What else can we add to this? I think for like an actual like live visual, I would want this to be a little more sort of gritty looking. And I'm trying to think where I'm going to put this. I think I'm going to try and put this before the bloom. We might move it to afterwards, but an easy way to get sort of a grittier sort of like output just for cheap is using a displace and displacing it by itself. So you'll see here, I mean, this is all sorts of crazy, but that's because we can take this weight down quite a bit. And you'll see, yeah, let's go ahead and drag that into our output so we see it on our big preview. Yeah, so I mean, the color changing is actually what's kind of moving things around a little bit more, because the displace is moving things based on the red and green values of whatever color we're on. Still might be a little bit more than I want to do. I don't want to like fully displace myself. So that's cool. Let's see. The bloom beforehand or afterwards, I like. Let's try it before and see what happens if we put the bloom in first. So let's go into there. and displace the bloomed version by itself. I mean, that's kind of cool actually that it moves it. Yeah, let's bring that in after the bloom because the extra movement is nice. Cool. And yeah, feel free, if you're following along, like based on how extreme you want this to be, you can move up and down this displace amount. Kind of the weird sort of doubling effect it gets. Okay, cool. What else could we do for this? Another thing that I was playing with that I liked the idea that might be too much is to actually do another operator in here. I'm going to do an HSV adjust, so hue, saturation, and value adjustment, and you'll see I can actually just offset the hue. So, this is great if I like have some like specific look color, right? Like if I have like a band color or brand color, whatever it is that I want to always keep within this color range, because this like reddy orange blue is what the look is for a song or whatever it is I'm doing. Obviously, you can keep it there, but we could bring into this HSV offset and then offset the colors as well. And because the color itself is what's changing that displacement, you can kind of see it's like it moves around differently based on that. So, it might be a fun idea to automate this in the same way with a speed. So I'm going to add a speed chop. And let's call this hue change speed. Cool. I'm going to drag that onto hue offset. Well, actually, before I do that, look, if you'll see the minimum for this is -360 and +360, and the far ends are the same. So I want to loop between that -60 and +360, I think. And I can do that inside the speed chop, which is really nice. So I can loop in the limit type, and I can say go from -360 to +360. And then, okay, I'm going to drag that back onto our hue offset as a reference. And then I'm going to start changing colors. Probably want to change it like 2 or 3. Let's see, we're going to start seeing that change. Let's go up to like a 4 just to make it faster. For an actual show, I'd probably change this a lot slower than this, but just so you can see what's happening here. Cool. Another thing you might want to change, so like if you don't like this sort of like displacement effect, that's like the line sort of displacement, you can also go in here and change this. Instead of holding the value, you could say, mirror the value. I don't know if you're really seeing that right now, but you can hold, let's see if it's 0. So like you can see the displacement's like moving things off. I mean, maybe this is the effect you want too, but if you don't want it to like drag in lines or have the 0, I would probably do a mirror effect personally. Maybe let's bring in just some other videos real quick just to show what some other things might look like going into this, just to make sure it's looking the way we want. Paste it in these videos. So now, I could go in and just drag in this sort of dancer dancing around, or this other singer. I forgot to hit my 1 on the dancer, but if I want to hit that to the beat, obviously if I put in like out of the palette, like the audio beat detection, audio analysis stuff, you could detect beats and trigger those manually, or trigger those automatically, sorry, instead of manually. Cool. Actually, I'm going to bring that down a little more. Rad. Okay, so yeah, I think I'm going to leave it at that. If you have any other cool thoughts of how you could, make something similar to this, or things you would change for this or add to this, definitely leave them down in the comments so that other people can see it, and so that maybe we do another one in the future of this. But yeah, no, let's leave it at that, and we will see you at the next one. Later.